Hi there. I thought I would check in and give you my little weekly update. I'm a day behind because yesterday was wild. I had the day off work yesterday and I decided to do some chores. I shampooed my upstairs carpets and it took me about 3 hours because I wanted to really, really dry them. it was it was a very long, stressful process. So here we are on Tuesday with me giving you a quick wrap up that I'm going to turn around and put up. So I hope you appreciate this. First off, I started, but did not get very far into the Fury of the Gods. I trying to get the glare off of here. I started and did not get very far into the Fury of the Gods by John Gwynne. This is book 3 in the Bloodsworn saga. I'm really loving this. I am 12% in, and honestly, looking at just the chapter titles, I was like, oh my God. So I'm probably going to be focusing on this a lot this week. I'm also still, I have the dust jacket off, but I am still working on Aragon. I got behind. With everything that happened this week, everything got a little bit messy. I did get up to 50%, and I'm going to try and finish it in the next couple days just so I can knock it out and move on to the next thing. I'm at the point where I'm more interested in some of the adult characters and what's going on with them than I am with Aragon. And so I think I'm just a little too old for it. I can 100% see, having just finished recently To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, how much Christopher Paolini's writing has improved and how much he's grown as an author. Um, the fact that he started writing this when he was 15 and got it published when he was like, what, 18 or 19 or something is crazy. Like, it's so good that he did that. The writing is actually taking that into consideration. The writing is not bad at all. It just feels, it's very YA, and the pacing's very YA, and some things that I want to go more into depth on, we don't go more into depth on, but that's just because it's YA and I'm not a YA reader. So I am really enjoying it. I do love the scenes with the dragon. I love the connection he's having with the dragon. I think Aragon is a little too stubborn in certain scenes for me, but I understand why he is that way. I think it works for the character, but it's frustrating for me as an adult being like, bro, you don't know everything, just listen. But as a teenager, I could see that being a very validating thing, being like, this teenager actually does know a lot, and he's like standing up to the adults and being like, I know what I'm talking about. You just need to listen to me. Um, there's been some very quick like montage scenes. It's standard YA. He picks up things really quick, and he's really good at them when he does. So standard YA. What else have I been reading? Okay, so I finished these two manga. This is The Girl from the Other Side 5 and 6. My library has, I believe, all of them in physical. So every couple weeks I'm going to pick up a couple because these are a good hour and a half read. And they're like, I love the artwork in them. I wish my library wouldn't put their stickers over the cover because they usually put them on the back of the book. And since this is a manga, the back of the book is actually the front cover. So we get instead like pretty back with the barcode. I'm like, guys. So, but this, I really like, this is the cover. This is the artwork on the cover. It's just cute and creepy at the same time. And I love it. Because you have like Shiva and Teacher in the boat, and then you have these like hands sticking up out of the water. And yeah, so I really like this one. And then 6 actually is my favorite so far. Here's the cover artwork. I really like that one. This one, we're finally getting a little bit more into the background. We're getting some things answered, and we have a little journey. We actually have, I think it's the end of this one, we actually have some character conflict finally between the two characters. Like, some things come to a head, and we have some development there, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Okay, so audio-wise, I am 57% into The Mad Ship and obsessed. I took a break over the weekend to kind of let it all sink in, have some thoughts about it. I'm still kind of in that same thought space that I was in when I talked about this last week, that it's so good dealing with like the things that women go through behind the scenes that a lot of men don't realize or appreciate necessarily, especially in these fantasy worlds where the world wouldn't run if the women weren't doing these domestic tasks, but they don't often get acknowledged. And I really like how Bingtown acknowledges that and puts it up in the forefront that, like, we have these roles for our society to continue to exist. Where I'm at right now is I am so mad at Keffria because she's refusing to bend on her idealized view of things. She's coming to terms with the fact that her husband Kyle is a piece of shit and that she doesn't even think she actually loves him anymore. And she's dealing with that, but at the same time, she's trying to put these impositions on Althea to act in the way that Keffria expects women to act, which is to be demure and to be modest and to stay at home. And Althea snaps back a few times and she's like, what, do you want me to just sit here and wring my hands until things get better? Or do you want things to get better and you want me to do some freaking work? And so Althea is actually like kind of doing that while Keffria is like, oh, it's so improper though. It's improper. But Althea is like, bro, there are no men in our house. Stuff has to get done. Like the roof is leaking. The garden needs to be like, like mulch needs to be brought in. Like heavy working stuff needs to be done. And Keffria is like, it's improper for women to do that. And Althea's like, who the fuck's gonna do it then? Who is gonna do it? So those like disagreements are frustrating for me. And the fact that I know the arc and what's coming, it's like, okay, I can see why we're setting this up. And the fact that Keffria is going to go through this arc of this character development, of having this realization and what's coming for her is, it's set up so well. I just appreciate how Robin Hobb is setting it up in a way that is actual development for all of these characters, and you get them in frustrating situations, and then you know that you're going to be able to watch them grow, and that's, I just really like that. Ronica is still my favorite. I still love Ronica. She is such a strong, powerful character. I love her as like in charge of the girls. I like that she sees she understands where Keffria is coming from, but at the same time, she's like, Keffria is going to have to learn that things are going to have to not be how she expects. And I think that's hard for Ronica with Keffria being the oldest daughter and Ronica having more expectations for her and then seeing Keffria just not want them. On the other hand, her seeing Althea step up is helpful to her, but she's frustrated that Althea is giving middle child and being headstrong about the way that she sets up. I know she's not necessarily the middle child, but the age difference between her and Malta almost sets it up where her and Malta have almost a younger sister, an older sister kind of relationship, where Malta is kind of treated like the baby girl of the family, even though Selden is the youngest currently in the household. Althea has a lot of like middle child things, but also got a lot of younger child things where because she wanted to be on the ship and her dad indulged her because she was the baby. But then it's kind of implied that her dad saw in her that she was going to be able to do these things. And I do wish we knew more about her dad, but I do kind of like that Veronica's like, this is what your dad wanted. We agreed. And maybe I pushed for it. And so we don't actually know what he wanted because in the beginning of the first book, he dies in the very beginning. And so we don't actually know what he wanted done with his ship and all of that stuff. So it's kind of that interesting dynamic. We have actual family dynamics, which I really like. And they're not always perfect, but they're not always terrible. And I really appreciate that, especially myself having two sisters and a young brother. I'm the oldest though, so I can kind of see these dynamics playing out. That's why I said that there is a bit of like a sisterly relationship. I like that Althea is actually seeing that some of herself in Malta, in that I'm going to do what I want to do and I'm going to make it happen and I'm smarter than people around me give me credit for, but she doesn't like the way that Malta's going about it because Malta is being very underhanded about a lot of things. But Althea doesn't necessarily know how much sneaking and underhanding Malta's doing. She just knows that she's like kind of a dick. So I do appreciate that. I love the dynamics with Amber thrown in there and how Amber is kind of making Althea like see things from a different perspective. There is a scene that I really don't like where Brashen has just like this fucking attitude, just such an attitude because he's going through withdrawals from this stimulant that he takes and he's trying to stop taking it and he's going through withdrawals and he's got this like anger aspect of it. And he also just doesn't like that he can't control Althea. And so he kind of snaps and he's like, you didn't want to come back here because you found who you were while we were out there, and you can't be that while you're here. And while that is valid, the way that he approached her and the way he said it pissed me off. He's just being a dick for no reason other than to be a dick. And Amber was kind of like, oh, well, he's not wrong, and maybe you should listen to him. And why are you upset that he said that? And it's like, Amber, come on. It's the way he said it. It's not what he said. It's how he said it and how he approached it and how he felt that it was perfectly fine to just out of nowhere attack Althea because she wasn't doing or being what he expected or what he wants her. And it was the way he approached it was like really shitty. And I don't like that. That kind of pissed me off. So it pissed me off the first time, and it pissed me off this time too. And I'm like, come on, Amber, I expect better of you. Especially knowing what I know about Amber. So the last book I finished was Our Wives Under the Sea. This was a reread for me. I did this on audio, and the audio, so emotional. I almost cried so many times. Like audio actors, I'll put their names up here, are fantastic. They're so good. I loved the way that they handled the narration, because we do get two narrators. So if you don't know, Our Wives Under the Sea is following Miri and Leah, and Leah is a saturation diver, kind of. She goes on submarines, and so she's going on this mission to go and do some scientific research. It's supposed to last 3 weeks, and she's gone much longer. And when she comes back, she's not quite the same. And we're following both her and Miri. We're following Miri, her wife, who is like dealing with the grief and the trauma of what her wife is going through and how their relationship isn't the same. She's dealing with the trauma of actually believing that she was dead because she was gone for 6 months. Nobody spoke to her about where she was or what was going on or anything. And so she just kind of believed she was dead. And then we're getting her dealing with that. She's also a hypochondriac on top of this. Leah was really the only firm person in her life, and now she's having to deal with what is going on with her. Am I going to lose her? And then Leah's stories are in the past from what happened when the sub was stuck, where it was stuck. And those are creepy. It's a literary horror, so there's nothing like, there's no jump scares, there's no like big overwhelming sense of evil. It's just, there's some body horror, there's a lot of grief, there's a lot of trauma. That's pretty much what we're experiencing, and we're going through it. The prose in this is absolutely lovely. We get a lot of like what a relationship is and what it means to people, and how the loss of that can affect you. I'm talking, so the dog's like got to sit next to me and whine because he's like, no, you're talking and not to me. Anyway, it's gonna be great. I'm editing a video. My brother came over on Sunday, and I'm editing a video where Hugin whined into my brother's mic because Hugin had his head on his knee, but he wasn't getting pets. So there's quite a bit of audio of Hugin whining that I'm like, I don't think I can cut that out. And you can't see him. He's like off screen because he's like the cat's off here, right? And Hugin's like kind of down here, like with his head on my brother's lap. And so yeah, it's gonna be fun. He like does this squeak whistle whine, where he sounds like a bird. Anyway, Our Wives Under the Sea. So yeah, lovely editing, like lovely like storytelling as far as the audio. Because when we're getting Leah's story, we're getting it from when she's in the sub, and it actually sounds a little echoey at first. It sounds like they're kind of not above ground. It's just done really, really well. And the story itself is creepy. I've referred to it as a feeling of a liminal space. Like it's something familiar, but there's something not quite right about it. It's a very vibey creepiness. It's like, I have said it's like being in a museum, because I've had this experience where I was like the only one in the museum in the afternoon, and then their scheduled organ playing started. And it's like kind of like that. Or like the sounds of like foggy, misty mornings. Like it's just slightly eerie and unsettling, but you can't quite put your finger on why. And I really like that aspect of it. It feels like anxiety. It feels like sinking. And I think that's why it just works for me. So this was a 5 both times. I definitely recommend it either on audio or physical, because now I've read it physically and listened to the audio. And the audio is top notch, like fantastic. And it's short. It was 6 hours. So I listened to it in like 2 days, just got all that stuff going on. So yeah, definitely recommend it. So that's what I've been doing. My brother and I did decide what we're going to read, so I'll be picking one of those up soon. And I'm hoping to finish Aragon and pick up the Ministry of Time because that is due back to the library in a week and a half. So I really need to get those going. So I'll talk to you soon.